So for people who don't know, nanotechnology is the branch of technology that deals with dimensions and tolerances of less than 100 nanometers. So teeny, 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 tiny, tiny.
Tiny science. Teeny tiny science.
Teeny tiny science. Especially the manipulation of individual atoms and molecules, which are also very small.
They are.
And now, as we were saying earlier on, that this day and age, there's an awful lot of pollution in the air, in our waters, and it's kind of about time. But more and more people are getting on the bandwagon of doing what they can do to help change this and stop polluting our waters and single-use plastic. And because at the end of the day, it's kind of becoming unavoidable now.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, and we're seeing the effects of it in places that we didn't think we would be seeing it, essentially. But so in this case, the nanotechnology was used to clean up a lake.
Wow. And
pollution that was involved in a lake. Now, I'm going to completely butcher a lot of these words, particularly this scientist's name. His name is Marino Marikawa, and he's a Peruvian-Japanese scientist. And what he did was he cleaned up the Cascajo Wetlands, which are 80 kilometers, and they're in Lima in the province of Huaral. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Orla picked the article that had all the place names.
Yeah, all the hardest parts, the hardest words and the hardest names. But basically, it was a wetlands from his childhood that he used to visit, and then he found out that it was destroyed, and he was very distraught, and he learned that it was all due to pollution. So he decided to go into studying how can he help this, and what he did was he went back to the wetlands and he stayed there for a number of days, and he looked at the people traffic, the footfall around the area, looked at the ecosystems around there, and he analysed it, and he was doing this for months and months. And so then he ended up developing a nanotechnology system. So as I said, he started off by camping there. And he analysed the soil, he analysed the water, and analysed especially what kind of pollution was occurring, essentially. So it would be easier to analyse, okay, right, this is the kind of damage that's been done. Then how, once you know the source of the problem, you can try and find the source of the solution, essentially. So what he used was a Micronano bubbling system. Which sounds kind of cute.
It does, actually. There is something quite cute about that.
Yeah, I think it's bubble. You can't sound angry saying bubble. Yeah. It consists of introducing microbubbles into the depths of the polluted waters that attracted bacteria and polluted microorganisms. And his analogy was that think of soda bubbles, and he explained, and that everybody can see bubbles rising to the surface.
Yeah.
And now what you have to do is imagine these soda bubbles are micro size, and then in tens and tens of thousands of them rising to the surface with collecting these polluted and contaminated molecules in the water. So he was using quite small technology, obviously, it's slower, and it takes up to 5 to 8 hours for it to reach the surface. The micronano bubble has an electromagnetic field of positive and negative ions that works as a magnet. So that's how it's attracting all the pollutants and everything.
Okay.
So on the way to the surface of the water, it attracts the viruses and the bacteria, thus catching them in like a spider's web. And I think that was fascinating. So once it's attracted to the magnet, the viruses and the bacteria can't move anymore, and they die.
That's unreal.
Because they can't respire, they can't eat, they can't thrive on any more of the products in the water, so they just die. And then in the case that they still reach the surface, that they turn into gas and disappear.
Oh wow!
So I thought that was that would be due to the radiation of the earth and ultraviolet rays and things like that. Just things that we don't even take notice of, but because these are so fine and so tiny that they're basically vaporized. Essentially, like the world was a ginormous vaporizer.
Yeah, that's amazing,
isn't it?
Absolutely incredible.
And then the second method that he used was biofilters. And a biofilter is like a media bed in different types of organisms attached to and form a biological layer called a biofilm. And a similar kind of thing, it attracts water bacteria and preserves the good species that contribute to microflora and conservation of the biomediation.
It's the big words again.
Yep.
The big words.
Terrible. See, I mean, you wouldn't think I studied English.
No.
And biofilters are actually like probably most well known for water treatment.
Yeah.
But I think that is fascinating, and it's nanotechnology you do hear about a lot, and this all took place over the course of, I think it was 5 months, and he cleared the 80 kilometers of the lake.
That's unreal. Like it's amazing. I think that
6 months. It took 6 months for the development of the research, and it was 4 months that it was cleared up in.
Right. Well, even still, I mean, that's incredible.
Under a year.
Exactly, under a year from basically literally beginning to end, essentially.
Yeah.
From the development on. That's unreal. I think we kind of need to be developing these types of things because, I mean, with the rate that we're sort of destroying things, we sort of need to be finding new ways to repair some of the damage that's been done.
Definitely. And I've heard stories. I might look into this for a future episode because I remember I heard this last year, I think it was. And it was that there is a bacteria in the ocean that has evolved to digest plastic.
Right, I heard something about this actually.
Yeah, now because it was probably just an article I saw on Facebook or Twitter, I don't know the legitimacy of it, but it's definitely something I might look into because if that is true, that's amazing. It's amazing, astonishing, and kind of sad that like it's had to evolve, but at the same time, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, like we've kind of infiltrated the ecosystem so much that it's evolved to survive on. There's so much plastic there. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, there is a shocking amount of plastic, and not like it's just because any of the plastic that has ever been produced ever is still on the planet. Yeah. Like, and when it's been around for a long time, and it's only in recent decades that we've kind of become more aware of how not biodegradable it is. Yeah, as you said, it's all still there. Yeah, like it just doesn't. It just stays, and which is scary. And when you do, and because it's not in your front garden, and then you see these shots of the ocean. It could be in the middle of the ocean. It could be barren land. It could be anywhere, and you see the sheer velocity of it. It's shocking. So like scary. How quickly it's happening. Like it's exactly. It's crazy. It really is crazy. And I mean, we're kind of at the point where we've become so reliant on plastics. You know, like everything. Yeah. As we're sitting here at this desk now, there's a load of stuff around us that's, you know, it's made of plastic. And it's sort of, we don't have quick, cheap alternatives to how to do it. And that's the thing with plastics, because they're so cheap. That's it. And before it could have been forgivable, but now we're in a time where we have the information, we have the technology, and it's just unexcusable anymore to still be using plastic as much as we do. Yeah. And it's great to see, even last year, a lot of companies jumped on the banning of plastic straws. And it's little steps like that make massive differences. And it's hard to see, and it's difficult to get on board with when you don't have a tangible result that you can say, hey, I did that. But you just have to believe it, that it is there, and that single-use plastic is not good. It's not good for the environment. Exactly. Like we know it's not good. You know, and I mean, it's really encouraging to see that there's companies who are starting to kind of, like you said, like using paper straw or cardboard straws, whatever it is. Yeah. Like it's still not 100% ideal. Yeah. But it's a lot better than using plastic. Yeah, it's like a stopgap. It's just like, look, we haven't found a perfect alternative yet, but we just want to stop using this for now. And even products that have the wax seal, like I know there's a couple coffee companies that have found biodegradable coffee cups, where because 9 out of 10 places they have the wax seal, and it stops it from, you know, disintegrating in your hand, because it's a cup of liquid, and what does liquid do? And you're holding it in something that's essentially made of paper. Exactly, yeah. So, but there is a biodegradable alternative now, and I think that's really important for that to catch on, and that it's a slow process because obviously an awful lot of research and technology, because we don't want to start using something all of a sudden that's biodegradable and then realise that it's actually toxic to us.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, we found this new stuff. Like, oh, it's poisoning everybody who uses it.
It's a lot worse.
And that would not be ideal. But as I said, we have the technology now. We're at a time where it's possible. It's in our grasp. And if like more scientists are buckling down, because unfortunately we are seeing the effects of this on our environments. Hello, snow in March.
Yeah. No, we are. We're starting to see, the domino effect of some of this stuff. Yeah. And I know when you might start thinking like, oh, hold on, how did we get onto snow in March and weather stuff and we're talking about plastics? But it is all sort of a domino effect. It's kind of but I think an interesting thing to go back to there that you mentioned, and I think it shows how incredible the planet we live on is, that even though there is this massively unnatural thing that has been brought into our environment and brought into our ecosystem.
Yeah, completely man-made.
Yeah, completely foreign. It should not be there.
Yeah.
Yet still, organisms on the planet have begun to find a way to go, right, you need this gone, let's break this down.
Yeah.
Like, that's unreal. Like, it shouldn't have to happen, but regardless of whether it should have had to happen or not, it's incredible that our planet is able to do that.
I mean, like, our planet is alive, and it's really easy to forget that we are literally on this rock floating in space. We're just an inhabitant of it. Like, that's it. We're a guest on this planet kind of thing. And it's so fascinating to see it, as bacteria is a naturally occurring thing, and it evolves and it changes and things like that. It's so cool to see it evolving to things that we have made. Yeah. It's all very exciting and interesting.
Oh, it's crazy.
And like that just made like it's why I definitely wouldn't believe that we're the only planet in the solar system that has like even just bacteria.
Yeah,
surely.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the quest for life on other planets is kind of, everybody has this idea, this kind of romanticized sci-fi idea in their head of like E.T., and actual
an alien
humanoid
that has 2 legs
aliens,
and 2 arms kind of thing.
But I mean, it's every bit as fascinating, the idea that there could be, just planets out there that have bacterial life that has developed differently to the bacterial life on Earth. And
look at our own evolution, like, because I mean, going back to the very, very beginning. Who's to say that there's not a planet that's at that part of the evolution that will grow up. When you're older, you'll be like the Earth. Just don't mess it up as badly, please. Yeah. Look at the Earth. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
The Earth will become a cautionary tale.
I was going to say, do you reckon we're a cautionary tale to other planets?
Yeah. We'll be appearing in history books and science books.
Like, have a look at these people. They were given this beautiful planet to live on and do what they like with it, and they killed it.
Pro tip.
Don't kill it.
Because then where will you go?
But now it's fascinating. I think it is fascinating that that this stuff is happening by itself.
Yeah.
The planet is learning new ways to defend itself, and the bacteria and stuff on the planet is kind of going, okay.
Don't want to die. But even just going back to nanotechnology in itself is fascinating. Like, as we said, like it's nano size. Like, it's incredibly tiny.
It's teensy.
Yeah, and like unfathomably small. And like it's being used in new cancer treatments. And it's still in the very early stages, but it's a route to go through. And apparently so far there's been astounding results in mice. And that some scientists believe that it can be used for treatment of cancer. And obviously, like, it could be far away, but to have this in the running, and it's a very interesting approach, I think, because if you can implant these teeny tiny, smaller than molecules, into something like a tumour or cancer and things like that, and have it fight off it like slowly and slowly as the more that go in, and it will be fantastic.
Like, there was this idea, we were only talking on the D15 Today show, and myself and Daniel last week, he brought up this idea. I haven't had much time to look into it and research it, so I think I will for a future episode. But about basically a tablet you can take, and the tablet will, once it's inside you, kind of get to working out exactly what's wrong and fixing that.
That would be so cool.
So instead of just having to take specific things for specific problems, it will basically go in like a little crew of workers and go, okay, lads, what are we fixing today?
To the spine.
Yeah, like, I think I don't think that's a million miles away from something that could happen.
No, and the reason why I feel like that it might not be a million miles away is because, as you're saying, we're evolving and things like that, but involving in the bad way of we're becoming immune to antibiotics, and that's a big danger. And the whole importance of taking antibiotics only when you're prescribed them, and taking them for only the term that you're told, and not taking them early or any day less,
or holding on to them afterwards to take them in future and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like a big deal, but like this is where immunity to the things like MRSA, that's where these super viruses, that's why they're called super viruses, because they've developed so much to become immune to antibiotics. And again, I think it's one of those things that we've gotten so far that we can't keep saying it's like, oh, don't use that as much. We need to continue the message, of course, of don't take these as much, and only when you're supposed to, and only in dire situations that you really need them. But also that we need to be planning for
a day when they're not going to work for everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I think we've only had to deal with up to now maybe people who have allergies to certain antibiotics and stuff like that. Yeah. That's all we've really had to deal with in terms of non-responders. Because antibiotics tend to work for most people, depending on the situation, of course. But we could be on our way into a situation where antibiotics will be kind of, you'll be in the minority of people who it works for.
Because I remember a few years ago, I was getting tonsillitis every 6 weeks, nearly consistently.
Wow.
And I'd never had it before. And then in the space of 18 months, I had it about 6 or 7 times. It was hell. It was horrific. It was awful. And I was in college as well. So it was a stressful time.
Yeah.
Like I ended up getting my tonsils out at 21. But one of the most concerning things was because, like, tonsillitis, it is a virus. It's treated with antibiotics, and I was prescribed this certain antibiotic for about, I'd say, 3 or 4 of the times that I got it, and it stopped working. It slowed down. Like when I started taking it, I'd see results in a day or 2. Like it was like magic. Like my tonsils went to normal size again. And then by the 4th or 5th time I was on it, it was going much slower, and I was having to take more of it. So then I got moved on to a different antibiotic. And funnily enough, now I've been put when I've gotten sick again for like different throat infections again. Yeah. Which, just a side note, I am very miffed about, because got my tonsils out, still get throat infections.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, not half as much, but I still get them. But the antibiotic that I had become immune to nearly works on me again.
That's interesting.
Isn't it very interesting?
Very interesting.
Because I remember the last time I got an infection, I was prescribed it, and I didn't mention it, that it stopped working, because I was like, look, I might as well try it. And it wasn't quite the day or 2 that it originally was working on. Yeah. But it was definitely quicker. Say 3-4 days, and by the end of my prescription, like whatever it is, the 10 days I was on it, back to normal.
Oh.
Which I think is interesting enough in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now granted, there was a good few years. Like the last time I was on it was when I was about 21, and last year I was 25. So there was about a 4-year break from it. But still interesting, I found.
Yeah, it really is. Like it really is. Like the fact
and for the same type of infection, like it was still a throat infection. Now I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but yeah.
I'd be interested to kind of look into that, like how that works. Like, does your body over time? You had a situation where your body adapted to the antibiotic. It got used to it. It's not doing the damage. It's not doing the damage. Excuse me. It's not doing the opposite of that. It's not reversing the damage anymore. It's not helping anymore. But all of a sudden, something happens with your body where your body all of a sudden isn't trying to fight off this antibiotic anymore. That's so crazy.
Maybe it's something bad, and I have a very forgetful immune system or something like that, which wouldn't be great.
No,
but I'd like to think that it's something positive. If there are any doctors listening, do get in touch, because diagnose me. What is my body?
Yeah, absolutely.